The year was 1848, and California was still a quiet, far-flung corner of the American frontier. Nestled along the South Fork of the American River, a carpenter named James W. Marshall was inspecting the freshly dug tail race of a sawmill when something caught his eye. It was early morning, the sun barely rising, and in the flowing water, he noticed a cluster of shiny yellow flakes. At first, he didn't believe it. He bent down, picked up the pieces, and tested them between stones. They didn't rust, they flattened under pressure. It was gold. What Marshall didn't know that chilly January morning was that his quiet discovery would ignite one of the greatest mass migrations in American history. A single moment, a handful of glittering particles would set the world on fire. At the time, California was not yet a state. It was remote, sparsely populated, and had only recently come under American control after the Mexican-American War. Marshall was working for John Sutter, a Swiss immigrant and ambitious entrepreneur who dreamed of building an agricultural empire. Sutter was thrilled by Marshall's find, but also terrified. He knew that if news spread, his peaceful valley would be overrun, so he swore his workers to secrecy. But gold has a way of whispering to the world, even when men try to keep it quiet. Just a few miles away, a curious employee of Sutter's mill took a piece of the gold into town. Soon, whispers became conversations, and conversations became heated chatter in saloons and trading posts. In a matter of weeks, the rumor had spread to San Francisco. At first, no one believed it. After all, wild tales of hidden riches were common in the West. But then, a local newspaper editor got his hands on the story. In May 1848, the California Star broke the news. Gold had been discovered at Sutter's mill. San Francisco, then a sleepy town of a few hundred, exploded into chaos almost overnight. Shops closed. Ships were abandoned in the harbor as sailors rushed inland. Lawyers, farmers, cooks, and even mayors left their posts and headed for the rivers. Within weeks, the town was nearly empty. Everyone was chasing the dream of striking it rich. But the real spark came not from California itself, but from Washington, D.C. Later that year, President James K. Polk confirmed the discovery of gold in his annual address to Congress. His words were like throwing gasoline on a growing fire. The moment the U.S. government made it official, the news raced across the continent and beyond the seas. Newspapers in New York, London, Sydney, and even Manila reprinted the story with breathless excitement. For the first time, the promise of instant wealth was not a distant legend, it was real, and it was waiting in California. Then came 1849. Ships from around the world filled San Francisco Bay. Tens of thousands of people known as the 49ers poured in from every direction. Some walked across the Great Plains and over treacherous mountain passes. Others sailed around the tip of South America, enduring months at sea. Many came from Latin America, Europe, and Asia, especially China, transforming California into a global melting pot almost overnight. What had once been a quiet frontier became the stage of one of the most frenzied gold rushes in history. Towns sprang up along riverbanks. Makeshift mining camps turned into bustling cities. Fortunes were made and far more were lost. Violence, lawlessness, disease, and backbreaking labor defined life in the goldfields. But people kept coming, driven by the magnetic pull of those glittering yellow flakes first spotted by James Marshall. By the end of the rush, more than 300,000 people had arrived in California, reshaping its economy, society, and future. The population boom accelerated California's path to statehood in 1850, just 2 years after Marshall's discovery. And in a twist of irony, John Sutter, the man whose land held the first gold, lost almost everything as fortune seekers overran his property. The California gold rush didn't just change the West, it transformed the United States into a global player, shifted trade networks, and set the stage for a modern California that would later lead in agriculture, industry, and technology. And to think, it all began with a man, a river, and a few shining specks of gold glinting in the morning light.